Gottlieb says WHO should investigate China's handling of initial coronavirus outbreak.
哥特利布说，世界卫生组织应该调查中国对最初冠状病毒爆发的处理。
Melissa Quinn,
梅丽莎·奎因6到7
Minutes Washington. Dr. Scott Gottlieb, the former commissioner for the Food and Drug Administration, called on the World Health Organization (WHO) to investigate China's role in the coronavirus pandemic that has devastated the world.
华盛顿美国食品和药物管理局
Food and Drug Administration.
前局长斯科特·哥特利布
Scott Gottlieb,
呼吁世界卫生组织
WHO,
调查中国在这场席卷全球的冠状病毒大流行中扮演的角色。
Going forward, the WHO needs to commit to an after-action report that specifically examines what China did or didn't tell the world and how that stymied the global response to this, Gottlieb said Sunday on Face the Nation.
展望未来，世界卫生组织需要致力于一份行动后报告，具体审查中国向世界透露了哪些信息，以及这些信息如何阻碍了全球对此做出回应。哥特利布周日在面对全国
Face the Nation.
节目中说，
Transcript, Dr. Scott Gottlieb on Face the Nation.
转录
Scott Gottlieb,
博士面向全国，
the coronavirus outbreak originated in Wuhan, China, and has since spread to more than 180 countries. There have been more than 1.7 million confirmed cases of the coronavirus worldwide.
这次冠状病毒爆发起源于中国武汉，并且已经传播到180多个国家。世界范围内已经有超过170万的冠状病毒确诊病例。
President Trump has criticized the WHO for its handling of the coronavirus pandemic and said last week he is considering ending U.S. funding to the agency.
特朗普总统批评世界卫生组织对冠状病毒大流行的处理，并于上周表示，他正在考虑终止美国对该机构的资助。
Gottlieb said he disagreed with pulling funding entirely, as some countries in the southern hemisphere will likely be hit hard by the coronavirus in the near future and need resources, but said Mr. Trump raised valid concerns. Gottlieb
说他不同意完全取消资金，因为南半球的一些国家可能在不久的将来受到冠状病毒的严重打击，需要资源。但是他说，
Trump
先生提出了合理的担忧。
China was not truthful with the world at the outset of this, he said. Had they been more truthful with the world, which would have enabled them to be more truthful with themselves, they might have actually been able to contain this entirely. And there is some growing evidence to suggest that as late as January 20th, they were still saying that there was no human-to-human transmission, and the WHO is validating those claims on January 14th, sort of enabling the obfuscation from China.
中国当初没有对世界说实话。他说，如果他们对这个世界更加诚实，这将使他们对自己更加诚实。他们可能实际上已经能够完全控制这种情况，而且有越来越多的证据表明，直到1月20日，他们还在说没有人际传播。世界卫生组织在1月14日证实了这些说法。从某种程度上说，这让中国感到困惑。
In the U.S., there have been more than 530,000 confirmed cases of the coronavirus and more than 20,000 people have died. Public health officials have said mitigation measures appear to be working, though they are urging Americans to continue following social distancing measures to curb the spread of the illness.
在美国，已经有超过53万例冠状病毒确诊病例，超过2万人死亡。公共卫生官员表示，缓解措施似乎正在发挥作用，尽管他们敦促美国人继续采取社会疏远措施，以遏制这种疾病的传播。
Still, Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, suggested Sunday on CNN that some regions of the country may be able to begin a reboot of the economy in May depending on whether there is a threat of an outbreak and the nature of an outbreak already experienced.
尽管如此
Anthony Fauci,
博士，国家过敏与传染病研究所所长，在周日的
CNN,
节目中暗示，这个国家的一些地区可能够在5月份开始重新启动经济。这取决于是否存在疫情爆发的威胁，以及已经经历过的疫情的性质。
But Gottlieb said there is not yet a place in the U.S. that is optimized to return to normalcy.
但哥特利布表示，美国还没有一个地方能够优化回归常态。
We're not going to have the testing in place. We're not going to have the public health employees hired to do the effective contact tracing, he said.
我们不打算进行测试。我们不会雇佣公共卫生人员来进行有效的接触者追踪。他说。
Gottlieb said it's inevitable there will be some risk associated with reopening business activities next month but predicted there will be restrictions on workplace activities.
哥特利布表示，下个月重新开业将带来一些风险，这是不可避免的。但他预计工作场所活动将受到限制。
I think you're going to see a gradual reopening where governors and mayors say, well, businesses can reopen, but you can only bring back 50% of your employees that are on any one shift, so you force the employers to break up the shifts, he said. Maybe you tell people over the age of 65 to stay home a little longer. You tell businesses you can't have meetings of more than 10 people. You can't have conferences. So there will be measures put in place to try to limit interactions at the workplace, but allow some work to get on.
他说，我认为，州长和市长们将会逐渐重新开始工作。他们会说，企业可以重新开张，但是你只能让50%的员工在任何一个班次上下班，所以你会迫使雇主停止轮班。也许你会告诉65岁以上的人在家多待一会儿。你告诉企业，你不能召开超过10人的会议。你不能开会。因此，我们将采取措施，尽量限制工作场所的互动，但允许一些工作继续进行。
Gottlieb said that as the country looks to the future, public health officials will be pushing for testing, tracing and treating, but said to conduct effective contact tracing, states need to hire more workers.
哥特利布说，随着国家着眼于未来，公共卫生官员将推动检测、追踪和治疗，但说要进行有效的接触者追踪，各州需要雇佣更多的工作人员。
The states need to increase their resources now, he said. The feds are going to have a hard time pulsing their resources in the throes of this crisis. So I think it's going to be up to the states, and a lot of it's going to be on the governors.
各州现在需要增加他们的资源，他说。在这场危机的阵痛中，联邦政府将很难动用资源。因此，我认为这将取决于各州，其中很大一部分将由各州州长承担。
In Wuhan, for example, Gottlieb said authorities had 9,000 people doing contact tracing at the peak of the coronavirus outbreak. The Centers for Disease Control, meanwhile, has roughly 600 people nationwide conducting tracing.
例如，在武汉
Gottlieb
说当局有9000人在冠状病毒爆发的高峰期进行接触追踪。与此同时，美国疾病控制中心
Centers for Disease Control
在全国范围内约有600人进行追踪调查。
Contact tracing is sort of the bread and butter of public health work, he said. We do this when we have outbreaks of multi-drug-resistant tuberculosis or measles, where when you identify people who have an infection, you want to identify people who they were in contact with, isolate them and get them tested as well. That's how you can control outbreaks.
追踪接触者是公共卫生工作的主要内容。他说，当我们发现耐多尿结核病或麻疹爆发时，我们就会这样做。在这种情况下，当你确定感染者时，你希望确定与他们有接触的人，隔离他们，并对他们进行测试。这就是控制疾病爆发的方法。2020
CBS Interactive Incorporated. All rights reserved. 2020.
哥伦比亚广播公司保留所有权利。